What's going on, guys? This is Kevin Zwicker from Fast Count, and this is the first ever night one of Summerslam post show. As we all know, this is the first time in the history of the event that it has been 2 nights. And with that being said, I kind of felt like it was pretty obvious that night one they were going to want to start and end this show with a bang. And that's exactly what happened. And I think it became even more obvious as to what was going to go down in the main event as soon as we heard which match was going to start it off, right? Anytime Roman Reigns is on the card, it's pretty much penciled in that he is going to be in the main event. And in my mind, I thought the fact with him being not involved in the main event, it pretty much guaranteed that we were going to have something big go down in the main event if Roman wasn't going to main event the show. That's exactly what went down. We got a cash in for the WWE Heavyweight Championship in the main event. Everybody was going back and forth, and I went back and forth, especially with my boy Robin Lundberg. Not sure if you guys know who that is. He does a lot of great work when it comes to the WNBA stuff, and he is a regular on Busted Open. And we talked, and I told him yesterday, I said, man, I'm pretty sure that Seth Rollins is going to come in and cash in the championship on CM Punk if Punk was going to be able to win this title. And he went back and forth with me and said, nah, I think Seth is seriously hurt. I was under the impression that they were exaggerating the length of how much he was going to be gone, right? I thought that that's what was going down, and that's exactly what we got. So I can sit there and rub in his face and let him know that I do, in fact, know ball, and I do know exactly what I am talking about when it comes to graps, right? Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. We are getting closer and closer by the day to 3,000 subs. So the momentum is on our side at the moment. And this was a pretty solid show for the most part. To be honest with you guys, up until probably the Jelly Roll match, I was kind of bored. I was like, I said nothing was really catching my eye. But after that match, it feels like things really started to get into gear, right? But we start off the show opening it up with Cardi B. Not sure if you guys are familiar with her music. Very successful individual when it comes to the hip hop world. Me personally, not that huge of a fan of the music, but I'm very aware of who this person is, right? So she opens up the show, basically hyping up the audience, and it kind of looked as if she was reading off of a teleprompter, but she was just basically welcoming the WWE Universe to the show and hyping them up for what we were going to see throughout the night. We open up when it comes to the matches with the big-time tag team match with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso going one-on-one against Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And going into this match, I think the main objective and the whole purpose of this match was to get the rub for the young guys having an interaction with Roman Reigns, right? Obviously, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso are probably the two most over guys in the company at the moment. And I think them being able to have an opportunity to go against these young guys was beneficial for them in the long run. Throughout this whole match, you saw the two young guys, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, working on Jey Uso. They made it very much so a emphasis on keeping Roman Reigns out of the match. We started off the match kind of as if it was like a tornado tag team match, and eventually we were able to clear the big B's, Bronson and Braun, out of the ring, and we saw Roman Reigns do the hand gesture, that Jey Uso does all the time when he wants to do an encore yeet. We got that for a little bit, but then Roman Reigns was dragged out of the ring by the big B's. And eventually, throughout this whole match, they were working on Jey. Jey was getting the beach treatment throughout this whole match for the most part. There's multiple different opportunities where he tried to tag Roman Reigns in the match, but anytime he got close to tagging Roman in, somehow, some way, Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker were able to get their hands on Roman Reigns to where he wasn't able to be tagged in. I think the most interesting interaction throughout this whole match was the interactions we saw between Braun Breaker and Roman Reigns. In my mind, this is a shoo-in for a WrestleMania main event slot, whether it's this year, next year, or the following year. Whenever Roman Reigns plans to hang up the boots and go full-time to Hollywood, I feel like this is one of the matches that we're going to see relatively soon, right? But Bronson Reed, he ate a not Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, he ate a spear outside of the barricades from Roman Reigns. If you guys remembered on Monday, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso were the two guys who were on the reciprocating end of that spear on the outside. And I thought for the most part, right, the young guys were able to really hold on their own with these two guys, right? Roman Reigns, a ring general. I think that he's a guy who doesn't get as much credit for how good he really is when it comes to his in-ring work. And we were able to see displays of that throughout this match. The storytelling aspect I thought was very good. At the end of the day, though, it looked as if we're going to have the young guys pick up the win, but they got overzealous. Bronson Reed, he ends up taking the pin from Jey Uso. 1, 2, 3. The vets win the match. Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, they were able to take home the W, which was a pretty good opener. I enjoyed it. Anytime we get to see Roman Reigns, which is so sporadic these days, I think it's a good thing. And I was very much so into exactly all of the things that we got. Where the hell did I place my notes at? Okay. Wrong notes. Got so many notes around here that I get them confused with other ones. But what did you guys think of that match? Did you think it was the right decision to have Roman Reigns and Jey Uso win? Did you think it should have went with the young guys? I think either way, just being into the ring with them, I think that was a W in itself for Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Next, we get into the Tag Team Championship in the women's division. We have Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss going up against Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. Now, as we know, these are kind of two makeshift tag teams. Roxanne Perez is taking over for Liv Morgan when she is teaming up with Raquel Rodriguez. And Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, they are kind of these two individuals who are hesitantly aligned at the moment. We all know that we're not friends, but we're a team thing. And going into this match, anytime you have Charlotte Flair involved, I think it's a pretty good chance that we're going to see her picking up the W. And that's pretty much what we got. That's what we got. We got new tag team champions in the women's division now. I thought Charlotte Flair, which has been very beneficial for her lately, right? As we can remember, building up towards her match against Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, she was getting booed out of the building. You could just see on this woman's face that she was genuinely rattled by it. And now to see her in this position now where it's kind of like a 180, Alexa Bliss, when she's made her return to the WWE, now she has something useful to do. We know that the way that these things typically go is eventually down the line, we're going to get a singles match between these two ladies. But for now, they are the tag team champions. And I thought that was the right way to go. I feel like there's a lot of momentum going with this act that they have right now. People are generally into it. Charlotte is getting a lot of positive responses. And this is what WWE wants, as we know. So I thought there was no reason for them to break this up right now because it's working. People are into it. And now there's going to be more layers added to this story now with them being the tag team champions in the women's division. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. Hitting the like button, it helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. So if you'd be so kind, please do that for me real quick. Next, we get Cross versus Sami Zayn, which could potentially be Karrion Kross's last match in the WWE. If you guys don't know, Karrion Kross's contract should be running out any day now if he hasn't already signed a extension with the company. My gut feeling is he ends up staying exactly where he is. I don't think that he can go into any other company besides AEW where he would be able to make comparable money. And him being in AEW, I don't think it's a good fit. I think if AEW had any interest in him, they would have signed him the first time that he was cut by Vince McMahon. And we didn't see that then. So I don't feel like, especially with the current product that they have right now, that he is very much needed in that match. But this is kind of a match. Going into it, we remember that was the rules that were established on Raw. If Cross were to win the match, Sami Zayn was supposed to say, hey, if you Cross was right. If Sami Zayn was able to win the match, Cross was supposed to say Cross was wrong. High stakes, right? Sami Zayn, as we know throughout this whole storyline, Cross has been trying to get into his head, get Sami Zayn to basically give it to the dark side. And we had a pivotal moment where we had Scarlett hand over the pipe to Sami Zayn. Karrion Kross was being attended by the ref, and Scarlett was telling Sami to use it. Sami Zayn didn't want to use. He was looking very hesitant, very conflicted. Eventually, he ends up throwing the pipe onto the ground. He hits the haluva kick on Karrion Kross to pick up the W. So we look as if this is possibly a send-off for Kross in the WWE. What do you guys think? Do you think that Karrion Kross is going to re-sign with the WWE, or do you think that he is on the outs somewhere else? To me, the only other alternatives legitimately are TNA, which could be a possibility because that's where I believe that's where he had his best work. I don't think that they'd be able to afford the rate that Karrion Kross would be looking for. With the WWE connection that they have now, maybe that changes, but I don't really see him really fitting in with AEW, especially with the fact that they have a poor track record of really handling the big men. If you guys remember, Wardlow had all of the momentum in the world after he had that match with MJF where he just powerbombed the shit out of him. And just after that, it just didn't work out for the guy. I don't think the fact that he's not that great in the ring was really beneficial for him either, but just there hasn't been a big man in AEW that has really clicked. Next, we are going into Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. Now, what interests me the most heading into this match is Tiffany Stratton. She's only been wrestling for 4 years. And Jade Cargill, as we all know, she is never going to be confused for Bret Hart in the ring. So my whole thing was, who is going to be the one who is going to be calling this match? And if you saw multiple times throughout this match, you saw Tiffany Stratton being the one to call the shots in this match. I think most people going into this match pretty much assumed that it was a lock that Jade Cargill was going to win. I thought that it was a lock that Jade Cargill was going to win it as well, but we ended up seeing Tiffany Stratton retain throughout this whole match. Obviously, Jade Cargill is this person who is very much so able to overpower her opponents 90% of the time. And we saw that throughout this match. Tiffany Stratton, with her gymnastics background, she was able to show her athletic maneuvers throughout. And we got to a point where Jade was going to hit basically a super jaded off of the top rope. We saw Tiffany be able to counter it. Jade gets hit with the prettiest moonsault ever. 1, 2, 3, Tiffany retains. And you saw Twitter not really enjoy that, right? That Jade Cargill wasn't the one who was winning this match. I personally thought that that was going to be the route that we're going to go as well. But hey, why rush the inevitable? Maybe you can get a couple more matches out of this series and prolong it a little bit, because we know that Jade is destined for a championship. Whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next week, we all know it's going to happen. So why rush into it, right? Me personally, I thought that it would have made more sense to do it now. You want to kind of have these big moments on the biggest stage you possibly can do it on. And I think that this was one of those opportunities. But with the fact that they will do a lot of big international PLEs now, where they're very much so full of a lot of people and those crowds are extremely energetic, maybe it's not as important to do it as an event like SummerSlam or WrestleMania when you know that you're going to go in front of a big international crowd and it's going to be just as lit there, right? I don't think that there's such things as B pay-per-views or B PLEs anymore, just with the fact that they're able to do these international shows on a consistent basis now, where it just feels like a huge event. But guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. Hitting the like button helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. And all you have to do is move your hand and hit the button. Just hit the button. It's not that hard to do, man. Next, we're going into the much talked about and controversial match. This is Jelly Roll and Randy Orton going one-on-one against Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. Now, guys, just to be real with you, I have not been into this, not one iota. I know that people are going to go and say, well, you got to remember the first ever WrestleMania main event featured a celebrity. Yes, I'm aware. You got to remember that all of these big time events throughout WWE history has featured a celebrity. Yes, I am aware. But the thing that to me that's a key difference, right? and this is kind of excluding Logan Paul and Bad Bunny because I feel like they're the outliers. Majority of the time when we've had celebrity involvement in WWE matches, usually they've been athletes, right? Lawrence Taylor, Floyd Mayweather, we've had Shaq, we've had just in WCW, they had Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman. Yes, I'm aware they had Jay Leno there as well. But throughout it, they've at least been athletes, right? Jelly Roll is just a large man who happens to sing, right? But throughout this whole match, and I'm gonna be I might be in the minority of this because if you watch the match, the people were into it, and that's the most important thing, right? The people were into it. And Jelly Roll, to start off this match, Randy Orton didn't want him to start it off, but Logan Paul was in there first, and Jelly Roll was very insistent on starting the match after Logan Paul hit him with a cheap shot. And throughout the beginning of this match, we saw Jelly Roll get pretty much worked on by Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. There was spots in the beginning where you saw Jelly Roll put in a little bit of offense. And honestly, man, when you saw Drew McIntyre having to sell for Jelly Roll, I honestly was offended, which that could just be me being a mark, right? Because to me, I always looked at wrestling kind of like in this light. For me, wrestling is supposed to be very much so a difficult thing to do, right? It shouldn't be one of those things where I can look at it and say, hey, Jelly Roll is able to do it. So I think if you give me 6 weeks, I'd be able to get into the ring as well. I feel like and maybe this is just me sounding like an old man, which is crazy, but it takes something away from me in my mind, because it's just, in my mind, it basically says, hey, these guys aren't top athletes because if Jelly Roll is able to do it, there's nothing special about guys like Roman Reigns or Randy Orton because they're doing the exact same thing Jelly Roll is able to do. But we got to a moment in the match where Drew and Logan have Jelly Roll on the announce table. Logan Paul, he's over there toasting a couple bottles of Prime. Drew lays Jelly on the announce table, and Logan Paul hits an hits a frog splash onto the announcer table on Jelly Roll. And Jelly Roll, he is, taken care of by a bunch of different medical personnel. They have it looked as if they're going to take Jelly Roll off. You have Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre laughing and trolling Jelly about this. And we get to a point where we're on the ramp where Randy is in the ring and he's getting this 2-on-1 action where it looks as if he is helpless. Jelly Roll turns back. He gets tagged into the match, and we see Jelly Roll go at it, right? Clothesline after clothesline. He choke slams Logan, hits a sidewalk slam on Drew McIntyre. Jelly Roll is just doing what he's able to do. But at the end of the day, Logan Paul hit a frog splash on Jelly. 1, 2, 3. The bad guys win. And it's very rare for a celebrity to be the one who's taking the pin in these matches. So that's the one thing I can give the guy some props on. At least he took the pin, right? And Randy didn't. But there's rumors coming out of this show that this isn't going to be the last time we see Jelly Roll wrestle. I think that people enjoyed it enough to where that's probably going to happen. We're going to see Jelly Roll wrestle in the future. Hey, it's not for me, but it's for other people. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe, guys. Hitting the like button is as simple as moving your finger, and it helps the channel out in more ways than you even know, and it would be much appreciated on my end. Guys, we are like this close to 3,000 subs. Every day it gets closer and closer, and it's pretty cool, right? Guys don't know, when I first started this channel last year around this time, I was shocked if I was going to get 100 subs. So the fact that we're at 3,000 is some good stuff. We are into the main event, Gunther versus CM Punk. And like I started at the beginning of the stream, I thought that what we got done in the main event was exactly what was going to go down. Because if you're not going to have Roman Reigns in the main event, which he is 90% of the time basically a guarantee to main event the show, then you are going to have something big go down. Throughout this whole match, it was pretty slow paced in the beginning. You had a lot of different holds and clinches between the two guys. Gunther was pretty much having his way with CM Punk. It looked as if we were getting elderly abuse in this match, but there became a moment in time where CM Punk was able to use his grizzled veteranness and knock Gunther off of the announce table. Gunther came up, was sweating like a stuffed, was not sweating, was bleeding like a stuffed pig. That's where we got the momentum change. And CM Punk was in a position where he kept on throughout this whole match. There was teases of him hitting the GTS on Gunther, but he wasn't able to pull the trigger. Gunther was able to find ways to counter and put him in a sleeper hold. But we got one time at the end where Gunther was just pretty much gassed and wasn't able to evade it. CM Punk hits him with a GTS. Gunther doesn't go down. CM Punk hits him with another GTS. 1, 2, 3. CM Punk wins the World Heavyweight Championship. And we get a very emotional scene. It was very reminiscent to AEW Double or Nothing 2022, where he won the AEW World Championship. And you see him getting super emotional, see him crying, and then it looks as if we're going to see a championship celebration. And the longer we got to see CM Punk in the ring, and we keep panning to him holding up the title, that's when it became more and more likely in my mind we were going to see what just happened next. And that was Seth Rollins' music hit. Seth Rollins comes out in crutches, and he has a brace on his leg, and you see CM Punk basically looking at him, rolling his eyes. And Seth Rollins says, yeah, he's telling him, he's like, I'll be there. You got to watch your back, especially now. And then he pulls that infamous Kevin Nash meme where he looks as if he's walking to the back. You can kind of hear like a groan. And then we see Seth Rollins stand up straight, throw the crutches to the side, take off his brace, run to the ring, hit CM Punk multiple times with the briefcase, cash in the briefcase, hits a stomp. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is our new world champion. Seth Rollins is probably in this exclusive club of having probably the two best cash-ins in history. You could throw in Edge at New Year's Revolution 2006 as an honorable mention, but it was great. I thought this was the exact thing that needed to happen. Now, my only gripe is this. We have seen Seth Rollins and CM Punk so many different times that in my mind, we do not need to see it again, but this is what the directions we are getting, or the direction we are looking to be getting into again. I am done with CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, but it looks like they are not done with me. But we see Seth Rollins holding up the title. We end night 1 with a big time cash in. We are looking forward to night 2. Night 2 looks to have a really good card. I'm especially excited about the triple threat for the women's championship. I think that is going to be a show stealer. Heading into this match, I did a video yesterday about the John Cena babyface turn and how it was basically the cap of a useless 6 months and a waste of a potential good storyline. If that is truly what we're going to see, I still think there's a chance that it's just all a ruse, and it's to get Cody Rhodes to lower his guard. But who knows? We're going to be told exactly the answers tomorrow at night 2. We'll be going live following night 2 as well, so be there, guys. Going live after Monday Night Raw as well on Monday and Wednesday on Dynamite. Before we get out of here, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Dave Meltzer stars ratings. I will give this a 3. What do you guys think, man? I don't know why you guys just like to hear me yap and don't say anything back. Like this is an interactive thing, guys. It's just a whole bunch of people just chilling and kicking, talking about wrestling. But hey, if you just want to listen to me, that's fine as well. Don't mind it. But night 2 should be a good show. We got that steel cage match as well. Cena and Cody Rhodes, which, hey, can't be worse than WrestleMania, right? That match was stinky. And that's putting it politely. So with all the bells and whistles, with the stipulation of the street fight, I think they're going to be able to have a couple of different, smoke and mirrors to have this match where it'll be at least tolerable. But guys, I am Kevin Zwicker. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the Night 2 post show. I'm out.